for our perfect cubes. So we have 2 to the third, 3 to the third, 4 to the third, 5 to the third. Let's start off with those 4. Go ahead, pick up your calculator. Figure out what those numbers would be. So 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times 4 times 4, 5 times 5 times 5. I did put one of these on tomorrow's skills check. Tomorrow's skills check, before I forget, is over Appendix 7, Appendix 9, and Appendix 10. 15 points. I dropped the lowest one. So if you did really good on the first one, then you really don't have to worry about this one. So, you know, keep the highest one. Okay, what's 2 times 2 times 2? 3 times 3 times 3? 4 times 4 times 4? 5 times 5 times 5? All right, which one of these blue numbers can go into 54? 27. All right, do you all agree that 27 goes into 54? All right, but the first thing I want you to do, because it's negative, is I want you to split this apart. You always separate the negative from the number. So I'm going to have the cube root of -1, and then I have the cube root of 27, and then 27 times what is 54? 2. And then I'm going to look at these 3 terms. Okay, so I have the cube root of x to the 6. I have the cube root of y to the 8th. And then I also have the cube root of z to the 10th. All right, so now we're ready to simplify each one of those separately. You're going to look at each one of those separately. Starting with that -1. Is the cube root of -1, does that equal 1? I mean -1, or is it does not exist? Which one would it be? Who says it's -1? All right, look at your notes. We struggling, y'all. Let's go back to it. We talked about it. If it's even, the cube root of an even number, sorry. Let's go back. If it's even and it's negative, what does it equal? Does not exist. If it's odd, what does it equal? Okay, so because 3 is odd, this is going to give you a -1. What's the cube root of 27? 3. And then this is going to have to stay. This has to stay. All right, I have 6 people. How many groups of 3 can I make with 6 people? 2. Anybody left out?
No.
Nope. So that's going to give me x squared. All right, I have 8 people. How many groups of 3? Show me with your fingers. How many groups of 3 can you make with 8 people? 2. So that means that I have a y squared, and then I have something left over, though. How many will be left over? 2. So that's going to have to stay. And then lastly, you have 10 people. Show me with your fingers. How many groups of 3 can you make with 10 people? 3. So that would be z to the 3rd. How many are left over? So that's going to be 1z under there. All right, so now this looks kind of messy, but we're ready to clean this up. So all of these numbers that you see highlighted in green, these are the numbers that are going, these are the terms that are going to come in the front. So I have a -3. I have x to the squared, x to the squared, x squared. I have y squared. I have z cubed. And now we're going to make our little index box. And everything that you see highlighted in pink, that's what has to stay underneath. So what's going to be underneath? A 2. How many y's? Y squared. How many z's? And that would be your answer. That's how you're going to look at that. All right, I wanted to do in homework 4, let's go ahead and work out one of these questions together. So homework 4, number 92. Because this has some exponent laws in there that you may not remember. So this is what it says for number 92 in homework 4. And then we'll get into today's lesson. Does anybody remember? Is that the right number? 92? Okay. Does anybody remember from Algebra 1? What do you do when the exponent is negative? Jasmine? Yes. Flip it. Yep, we're going to flip this fraction. So we're going to flip it, and it's going to become 27/8 to the positive 2/3. That's how you handle a negative exponent. All right, so now we have two different numbers that we have to do. We're going to take the cube root of 27 and then square it. And then we're going to take, remember, because that's what this fraction means. This is the root, this is the power. We're going to take the cube root of 8 and square it. So let's go ahead and do that. Who remembers, what's the cube root of, yeah, I think we already have it up here. We have it up here actually because we started off with this. So the cube root of 27 is 3 because 3 to the power of 3 is 27. So what we really have here is 3 squared. And then the cube root of 8 is 2. So that would be 2 squared. What is 3 squared? And what's 2 squared? And that would be your answer. All right, so everyone should have 2 pieces of graph paper. Go ahead, take your graph paper. We're going to do 4 graphs. So before we get into that, I want to give you the definitions. So I think you can, no, actually we have 3 graphs. No, wait, 1, 2, yeah, we only have 3 graphs to do. So 1 sheet of paper, you can like probably hamburger it and do like graph at the top, graph at the bottom, and a graph on the back. So that's not for today. All right, so here we go. This is homework 5. It's really short, so you can look at it. It's only 6 questions. It's our shortest homework yet. This is the one where you need graph paper for. So if you don't have any graph paper, grab a sheet before you leave. You can use that. And I think you're only graphing. You only have 3 questions to graph. So you only need 1 sheet of graph paper for the homework. Okay, and then for these, you're only going to find my the x-intercepts. So if you don't remember, and we're not doing symmetry. We actually had to cut that because of time. If you don't remember, this is how you find the x and y intercepts. So I'll give you a minute to copy it down. But we're going to find x-intercepts, and we're also going to find y-intercepts. So to find the x-intercept, you substitute a 0 for y and solve it for x. And this is how you write your ordered pair. And then for your y-intercept, you substitute a 0 for x and solve for y. So I'll give you a minute to copy that down. down. Okay, let's get started. See if we remember how to graph. So on your graph paper, let's go ahead. We're going to graph this one. Y equals 2x minus 6. Pretty basic equation. So we have to find our x-intercepts. Let me go ahead and freeze the screen. Okay. So we have to find our x-intercepts, which means that y is going to equal 0. So let's do that. So in this equation, put a 0 right here. So 0 equals 2x minus 6. Go ahead and solve that equation for x. So this is the x-intercept. So to solve this for x, what will we do? Add 6, and what else? Divide by 2. So you should get 3. So to write that as an ordered pair, that would be 3, 0. All right, so now let's go ahead and find your y-intercept. When you're finding your y-intercept, that means x equals 0. So you're going to have y equals 2, and then times 0 minus 6. Two times 0 is 0. So y equals 0 minus 6. Y is going to equal negative 6. And that would be your ordered pair. So go ahead and draw your coordinate plane on your graph paper. And you're going to put a point at 3, because that's your x-intercept on the x-axis. And you're going to put a point at negative 6. And I cannot draw a straight line. Well, it's kind of harder, but make sure you have a straight line. That's as straight as I can get it, because I can't use a ruler. And that's it. That's it. Pretty simple, right? 1.2 is not bad. We got through the hard stuff. I think, in my personal opinion, the hardest two will be Appendix 6 and Appendix 10. So. Any questions about that first one? No questions? All right, let's do it. We only got 3 graphs. Let's do the next one. Go ahead and copy this one down. Negative 4x plus 3y equals 24. right, so go ahead and find your x-intercept. For your x-intercept, you're going to make y0. Who in Algebra 1 learned the cover-up method? That's how I used to teach it. Cover-up 1. Okay. Same thing. Nope. You don't always have to start with the x-intercept. You can start with the y-intercept. Doesn't matter. On the test, you're just going to have to tell me both. So it's up to you which one you want to do first. So here, to find my x-intercept, that means that y equals 0. So that's going to be negative 4x plus 3 times y equals 24. Put your 0 right here. Anything times 0 is 0. So negative 4x equals 24. X equals negative 6. Your ordered pair would be negative 6, 0. All right, y-intercept, that means x equals 0. So negative 4x plus 3y equals 24. We're going to put our 0 here, which gives you 3y equals 24. Divide by 3, y equals 8. Go ahead and plot both of those and graph it. Jim Quell, can you close my cabinet above your head? Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and plot our points. So negative 6 gets a point. Positive 8 gets a point. And that's your graph. Any questions about that? Pretty easy. Thumbs up, sideways, down. What we thinking? We remember this from Algebra 1? All right, last one, last graph. Now we're going to do a quadratic. So go ahead and copy down C. So my y equals 0. And I picked the questions that like you have 3 questions in your homework. And I picked 3 questions like the ones in your homework. Okay. So you have the 0 for y. So then that 0 cancels out. So we have 4x squared equals 4. Now we got to solve it for x. So do you see how we have an exponent on x? This tells me that I have 2 x-intercepts. There's 2 that I'm looking for. Not just 1, there's 2. So I need to solve that for x. First thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by 4. So that gives me x squared equals 1. And when I take the square root of 1, what do I get? Remember, I'm looking for 2 answers. Plus and minus 1, good. So we have an x-intercept at negative 1, and we also have one at positive 1. And yes, you can also just say plus and minus 1, 0. So you do not have to separate it. So I'm going to go ahead and plot both of my x-intercepts. I'm going to put one here and one here. And for your y-intercept, that means x equals 0. So I have 4 x squared plus y equals 4. When I put my 0 in here, it's just going to cancel out this entire term. Because 4 times 0 squared is 0. So this whole thing just goes away. And all you have left is y equals 4. So your y-intercept is at 0, 4. Go ahead and put a point there and connect that. So this is a quadratic, so it's just going to look like a frown. It's going to look something like this. And that would be your graph. Okay, we don't really have that much left. And I don't want us to have a whole lot to do tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Let's do this next one. And this for our next 4, we do not have to graph it. All we have to do is find our intercepts. So this next question is the one on the test that in the past, people have missed a lot. So go ahead and copy this down. We'll just do 2 more and then we'll end it. So we don't have to graph it. All I want are my x and y intercepts. That's it. And this is a test question. Y'all look so tired today. Real tired. Man. Okay. So yeah, that's all. We're just going to do a couple more and then we'll be finished. All right. So let's go ahead and find our x-intercept. So we're going to set the y equal to 0. So that means that you know f of x is the same as y. So this is going to be my 0. So 0 and then equals negative square root of x plus 25, plus 4. All right, let's go ahead and solve that for x. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 steps that we have to do. Somebody's at the door. Can somebody? Oh, that's Angelina. So what am I going to do first to solve this for x? What do you think my first step is? Subtract the 4. So let's go ahead and do that. You can sit in my chair if you want to. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're going to subtract the 4. My screen is messing up. Okay. Subtract the 4. So that's going to give you negative 4 equals. Now, there's an invisible negative 1 right here. Negative 1 times the square root of x plus 25. So what do you think my next step is going to be? Divide both sides by negative 1. When you divide both sides by negative 1, then you get positive 4 equals the square root of x plus 25. All right, now what do you think I got to do? Square both sides. So 16 equals x plus 25. And then what's my last step? Subtract 25. So pick up your calculators. Take 16 minus 25. And you should get negative 90. is your x-intercept. All right, so now let's find our y-intercept. So to find your y-intercept, that means that x equals 0. All right, so we are going to put our 0 there. So that's going to be y equals, and then it's a negative square root of 0 plus 25, and then the plus 4 is on the outside. So y equals negative square root of 25 plus 4. What is the square root of 25? So that means that y equals negative 5 plus 4. And what is negative 5 plus 4? Y equals negative 1. And that would be your y-intercept. All right, one more question and then we are finished for today. Any questions so far? So you don't have to graph it. All you have to do is give me the y-intercept. Okay, last question. Go ahead, copy it down and then we'll end there. Got to find our intercepts. All right, x-intercept. That means that y equals 0. So that would be 0 equals 16x squared minus 25. There's two different ways you could do this. You could factor it down to 4x plus 5 and 4x minus 5 and set it equal to 0. Because that is the difference of squares, which I think that's how I'll do it. I think I'll do that. So let's go ahead and factor it down. 4x plus 5 times 4x minus 5. And now set both of those equal to 0. And solve it for x. So we're looking for two x-intercepts. Leave them both as fractions. Work it through it. So you're going to subtract the 5, divide by 4. And then over here, you're adding the 5 and dividing by 4. So your x-intercepts are I'm going to just write plus minus 5/4, 0. That's your x-intercepts. And then your y-intercept, that means x equals 0. So you have y equals 16 x squared minus 25. Put your 0 right there. And then what do you think you get when you take 16 times 0 squared minus 25? 25? Negative 25. And that would be your solution. All right, I could tell you all are tired. I'm tired too. I'm in there. Tomorrow we just have 2 more questions to do. You can use this time to either finish up homework 4 or start homework 5. Homework 5 should not take long at all because it's only 6 questions. I would probably just knock that out real quick so you got that out the way. I do have some books up there if you want to look at that, and everyone should also have your